Welcome to No Contingencies, a real estate podcast with no filters, no BS, and no safety nets. We are now on the air. I'm Liz Ryan.
Hey, I'm Parker Pemberton.
And I am AJ Petterson.
Thanks, AJ.
You didn't have a mic on you there. You got to wait for me.
I have a whole introduction for you.
I thought, I didn't know I was, okay, sorry, guys.
We didn't give you any
it's okay.
instructions, so it's totally fine. Go ahead, Nick.
No, it's fine. I'm off me now already.
You're off of you? Oh, sad. Okay, are you
fine.
ready for your
I'm
formal
not that-
introduction?
Sure, great.
I'm not going to lie. It's from ChatGPT. Today's guest is someone we're genuinely excited to have on the show. He's a proven team leader who's built a successful real estate business from the ground up through intentional growth, real leadership, and a willingness to navigate the hard parts of team building head on. Over the years, he's grown and led a high-performing team, faced the growing pains that come with scaling, and made thoughtful decisions about the future of their business. Most recently, he took the step of joining forces with us at Pemberton Real Estate, bringing his team into our brokerage in a way that prioritizes people, culture, and long-term sustainability. Please help me welcome leader of the advisory group, AJ Petterson.
Wow, thank you. That was way better than I would have done. Holy
Right?
cow.
I liked it. Okay, on today's show, which is episode 7 of our podcast, we are changing up the format a bit. This is No Contingencies after all, so we're just going to spend the whole time chatting with AJ and Parker about their experiences. So let's get started. AJ, we're just going to start with some introductions about you first, okay?
Great.
I know. Tell us, what were you doing before real estate?
I played baseball till I was 26 years old.
I love it.
Played at Minnetonka High School and then at the University of Minnesota, and then later was drafted by the Twins and played 3 years of minor league baseball, sleeping on buses and having literally no days off. So
Amazing.
yeah.
What position?
I was a shortstop by trade, and then I was a backup once I played professional baseball. So shortstop, second base, third base, a little bit of outfield, kind of all over. But there was
Swiss Army knife.
yeah. Well, I have it's funny. I have a shirt. My wife has it now because she deserves it more now. But when I was playing, I asked for it for Christmas, and it says "Gritty Utility Infielder." It's like my favorite shirt, and now Emily wears it to bed sometimes. So
That's adorable.
it's fun. Yeah.
How did you go from that to real estate?
It was sort of random, honestly. I actually interviewed for college coaching jobs, baseball coaching jobs, and I got close on a couple of them, and didn't get them because I didn't have any coaching experience because I had spent all my time playing baseball, which I thought was going to be good enough, but it wasn't. And I, my wife got a job here in the Twin Cities as a nurse, and we decided we were just going to stick around and figure it out. And I met with two people. I met with a family friend who was a builder, and I met with my brother's friend from growing up who was in real estate, and I chose the real estate side. So that's kind of how I stumbled into it.
Okay. How did you start selling? Where were your sources of business that you used right at the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, this is one that I tell, all my agents all the time. I got there my first day. I got married at age 23. I was 26. I got into real estate, and we were talking yesterday. I was wearing a suit. I was all ready to go. Thought I was fancy, which I'm not, clearly. And I got to the basement of that office, and Alyssa, who now works for us, was down there. And I was there with Jeff Bray, Lindsay Bacigalupo, and Alyssa. And I said, "It's my first day. What do I do?" And they said, "Well, you got married a few years ago, right?" And I'm like, "Yep." So do you still have that wedding list with all those people's information? I said, "I do." I said, "Great, load it into this CRM, and then you're just going to go around and meet with all of those people in your first 6 to 9 months." And I said, what do I say? They're like, "Just catch up." I'm like, "That's it? That's the job?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's the job." I was like, "Okay, I can do that." So I just started scheduling a meeting every single day. Looked up by the end of my first year and had 26 sales, all from people in my network, which was pretty neat. So those guys taught me a lot at my first team and later first brokerage. So
That's an amazing story. I really like that.
We'll come back to that, but the simplicity of that is the key.
oh
You focused on one thing and you executed on it instead of trying to do 15 different things at once, right? We'll come back to that. That's a good topic right there.
For sure. Round it out just for a second. Tell us about you personally. Where'd you grow up? Where do you live? Family, pets, hobbies?
yeah, so I grew up in Minnetonka, and now me and my wife and our kids live on the same street that I grew up on. I really wanted a house. My big dream was, I had a small sport court growing up. My big dream was in our forever house that we would be in that neighborhood with the ability to put a sport court on it, and it was really pretty neat. We moved in there in 2017, 2018, and we added the sport court 2 years ago. So, and I did the whole project. So the builder and real estate thing kind of all came together in that. But yeah, I have 3 little kids. Holden is almost 10. Brody is 8, and Daphne is almost 5. So pretty fun. And my wife Emily, and we have a little puppy, but her back legs seem to be failing her lately. So we'll see how much longer she makes it for.
Yeah,
so.
that's rough. It's always the puppies. How did you and Parker get to know each other, and how have you gotten to know each other over the years?
It's funny because this whole thing that happened yesterday took an immense amount of thought, but it was solely because of how many people were involved in it and impacted by it. But I actually, when the EXP opportunity presented itself in 2019, I remember I saw Parker's Inman article, and we were looking at different options because the model we were in just wasn't going to work to get any bigger. And I reached out to Julie because I saw Julie joined right after you guys, and because I had done one foreclosure transaction with Julie. That was it. That's how she knew me. So it was not like a strong relationship.
Right.
I said, hey, can we grab a lunch, happy hour, coffee, whatever? I want to talk about this. She said, sure. And now looking back, it was so funny. She's like, do you want me and Daniel there? And I was like, yes. And she's like, are you sure it couldn't just be me? Because his calendar is like so crazy, you know? And I'm like, no, you got to clear a time for me in the next week. So we went out and met with them, and I got 15 minutes in, and I said, all right, so like, how do we do this? How do we sign up? Is there a website? Or she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, we're in, we're doing it, you know? And we came over, and I remember the first week, Julie was like, I think you're really gonna like Parker. We had never met before, and we got all 3 groups together, and that's when we met, 2019, January.
For just perspective, what were you guys doing in terms of team business at that time?
Yeah, so I was selling probably around 50 to 60 homes a year myself, and then I had my brother Luke, who's still with me, and my buddy Steve, who was a past client and had joined me, and we were like just over 100 sales in 2018 with the 3 of us. We had 2 staff when we made the switch.
That was before TK?
That was, and TK. So yes, sorry.
Okay.
So TK, Luke, and Steve. It was like 130 sales maybe. I don't know how I could forget TK and all that. He was the first one.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's go to that point, because you both had similar experiences starting a team around the same time. So I'm going to ask a bunch of team-related questions, and I'd love to hear answers from both of you. So we'll come back to AJ. Parker, you tell us first, back to the very beginning, what made you realize that a team was the next step versus staying as a solo agent?
Well, I came into the business with business experience. My landscaping company, which we often joke about a lot, was called Go-To Guys. And so I understood the value of how far your solo time can really go. And I understood the importance of leverage in building something. So when I came into real estate, I knew that I had to get as productive as possible first before I started to think about any sort of next step.
Right.
And like, I'm sure we can relate on that. You get into real estate, you don't think like, oh, I'm going to build this huge brokerage, or I'm going to build this huge team. You're like, I'm going to meet with those 200 people that are on my waiting list.
Right.
Let's assess it after that. But I came into it, and I just said, I need to get off to the best start that I possibly can. And once I did, I got to the point where you start to feel some pain, right? And that pain leads to either discovery or regression.
Right.
And the discovery for me was, okay, now I need to go hire somebody. And so you successfully hire the first person, and now you start building this organization, right?
Right.
And then that just leads to either when that person's feeling pain in their capacity, or you're feeling more pain in your capacity, then it's a sign to go and hire somebody else.
Yeah. I know the answers because I was there. But I mean, when we talk about feeling pain, is that super producing solo agent? What do you mean?
It's that, you drive home and you don't really know what happened that day.
That's a good indicator.
Yeah, and I still have those days off. I probably have those days 4 or 5 days a week now because of what we're trying to take on. And I know that means it was a good day. It means that we did a lot of challenging things and we did a lot of great work. But back then, you're either going to decide that you either are going to say this isn't for me, or you say I'm going to figure out the solution to make this pain go away so that I can continue to grow this.
Right.
And it was just this like AJ, I'm sure you agree. Like sometimes you go to bed super frustrated. You wake up the next day and you got a clean slate.
Mhm.
You're like, okay, let's just leave that frustration with yesterday, and today let's go to work on a solution. And I don't know. I tell people all the time, I'm not the smartest person, but I'm one of the toughest people because I never quit.
Right.
So I hopefully that answers your question.
No, it does. And I'm curious, AJ, what was the turning point for you that made you consider building a team?
It was pretty funny. I've told this story so many times, but I really wasn't looking to start a team. I had bought some Zillow leads. I was selling 50 homes to my own friends. I had part-time staff, and I realized I'm like, I don't need to work these Zillow leads, like I was paying, back in the days when it was like $1,000 and they'd email you some leads every once in a while. And I sold like 5 to 7 homes the first quarter I did it. And I was like, well, this is a really good return on investment. Like I should do more on this, but then it got busier and busier. And, TK, Taylor Kilty, for those who don't know him, he came to my door and knocked on my door at 2:00 in the afternoon. And my wife answered and said, my husband does the internet services. So I don't know if I can talk to you, but he'll be back around 4:00. And I came home at 3:45 and Emily said, someone's going to come back at 4:00. And I was like, selling CenturyLink? I'm like, and he's going to circle back through St. Louis Park and find our house and knock on just this door. She's like, oh, he said he's coming back. Sure enough, 4:00, knock on my door. And I open the door and he goes through his whole pitch. And I said, I don't know if this service is any good at all. I'll buy it because you're really good at selling it. But you need to quit what you're doing. You're not making enough money. And he said, what do you mean? I said, you should come join. I kind of like fumbled over, like, join my team. Like I didn't really have any agents, so it wasn't really a team at the time. So we could team up. I got some opportunity for you, and it took him like a month or two. But then when we sat down and he looked at it and he's like, yeah, let's go ahead and do this. And he was just a natural salesperson who just needed direction in a new industry, and he sold a home his first week, made about $100,000 his first year. By his second year, he was making more than that. And, Deacon, his first boy, was having health complications, and his wife was able to quit her job and stay home and take care of Deacon because Taylor was so successful. And I got to that and I was like, I'm just going to do this. I want to do this as many times as I can, and there've been so many more fun stories along the way about people getting into it and just opening the door for them,
For sure. At that moment, when TK knocks on your door, were there pain points that you had been experiencing up to that point? Maybe not pain, but things where you were doing this as a solo agent that you felt like at some point this is going to be unsustainable.
Yeah, I mean, I did alleviate that. It's funny, I sold, we switched brokerages. I sold 29 homes my second year only, but I was just an agent at the brokerage. So I was doing all my own paperwork, all my own listing stuff, ordering sign. Like I was responsible. And I was like, man, this is overwhelming at 29 sales, And so I went to my buddy who liked real estate and I said, give me 10 hours a week just to manage paperwork for me. He was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Mm-hmm. And then it was like not only easier, but I sold 52 houses my third year or something. And that was when TK entered the picture. And so honestly, like when TK entered the picture, I had figured out a lot of those things. Yeah. But it was like a serendipitous moment of like, I need to ask him. I say this stuff to people all the time. I'll be in like Ubers and my wife's like, why are you telling these people they should get into real estate? I'm like, cause they'd be really good. Cause I just think, I don't know, there's moments that can change my life and moments that can also then change somebody else's life. So I try to take advantage of them when I can.
Yeah.
The pain that we were talking about, on the solo agent side, it's when you get up to capacity, it's the emails that carry into the nighttime. It's the phone calls. It's the problems that keep you up at night. It's the things you deal with in the mornings right before you even get off to your start. And that starts to creep in, I would say around 35, 40 sales because if you're doing it all yourself, you're doing all the paperwork, you're doing all the communicating, you're doing all the selling, and all of a sudden your time block to lead generate in the morning starts to go away because you're playing catch up, and then your business slows down and you start to go through the roller coaster.
Yep.
Yeah. And then as young teams, what the pain that you start to experience, I'll use AJ as an example. He's out selling 50, 60 homes a year, and you've got this team of maybe 4 or 5 people over here, and you really want to make an impact in their life because it's, what AJ and I connect on is like, if you can help somebody become better, that's fulfilling, right? But now you're in the car doing all the things that I just described, right? And now you're team leader at nighttime, you're team leader from the car, you're designing those trainings at 9:30 at night. That's the pain I'm talking about. It's not physical pain, right?
No, of course not.
It's a little mental, it's a little emotional, and that's the trigger to say, now is the time to go and grow.
Right.
It's leap, take that next step and put something in place to help you get there.
And I think a lot of what we did going from Taylor to 3 people to 5 to 8 to 10, what I had to do is I had to learn, did I want to do this? Was a big question, right? And you've talked about it. Like, I want to quit so many times. Like, this is miserable, Then I had to learn how to be significantly more efficient with my personal business. So if something was taking me 2 hours before, it has to take me 30 minutes now. So I had to look at every single thing that I was doing and make sure that the efficiency was dialed up to 100. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of, like you said, 35 to 40 unit producers, it's like they don't realize that they're not super efficient, and so they're spending 70 hours a week doing this, and it's just miserable for them, and maybe they just need somebody to guide them in the right direction of how to do that.
Yeah, and the tough part too about that stage of business, let's just go back to, let's say 35 to 50 sales, and you might have just hired your first assistant. The struggle there is that you didn't get into real estate to manage people. You got into real estate to help buyers, sellers, investors, and clients accomplish their real estate goals. So now you've taken on this task of holding somebody accountable, giving them, enough leadership and guidance to get a full day's work in, checks and balances. Like it's hard to become a boss to someone
For sure.
for the first time. And Liz, like, the funny thing is you were the first one in our system with me.
Yeah.
And now you have 7 direct reports and like 30 people that report to you, right? So we've essentially done the same thing over and over and over.
Right.
But that's what I always tell team leaders is sometimes you just end up as a small team. You didn't like actually seek it out. And then you realize, oh crap, I've got 3 or 4 people. I got to make sure they eat too. And then I got to manage the finances. And I got to manage my own home. And I got to manage my own business. And that's where that starts to happen.
For sure. And tons and tons of things I want to ask you guys about sort of the early days and then the growth parts. But before we get there, I want to ask this. What are some reasons that someone might think would be a good reason to start a team, but really is not a good reason to take that step?
I mean, I think the biggest one is there's agents out there that are really great at sales, but they're maybe not a leader.
Right.
And having enough, I guess, internal understanding of yourself and EQ and all those sorts of things that maybe this is not what it's supposed to be for you. And I think there's people out there. I mean, I've talked to agents who, came to our team from other teams, and the comment, one of them I heard was like, well, how am I going to retire now? As the team leader says on the way out. And I'm like, is that what this is? Like, it's about me selling houses so you can retire? Like, it's supposed to be a value swap here, I thought. Like, you think that we offer more value than what it's costing you, right? I mean, that should truly be what it is. So if you're going in it just to make money or just because you're good at sales, then you probably should check yourself and figure out if your values are aligned with what it takes to actually grow a big team.
That's one of the two. So that was great. I think just the second is ego. Mm-hmm. And I think that the industry has this way, at least when AJ and I came up in the industry, market was ripping. These brokerages were encouraging teams. Like, it was kind of like the next logical step is you become a team. When you learn how to actually get under your feet and you make a livable wage and, you have a solid business, it's like the next step is you should just go start a team. And then the ego hits of like, oh, I want to be on that ranking. I want to be on that leaderboard. I want to be on that award show. I want to be on, and then you get invited to that panel and, the ego drives it versus what AJ actually said, which was mission focused of like, why are you really doing this in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think that makes really good sense. And I think ensuring that you are the personality type that enjoys the tasks that are involved in being a team leader. It's a really objective and kind of boring question, but super important to ask yourself.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Back in those early days of your both respective teams, what kind of systems and processes did you make sure you put in place right away? Or if looking back on it, what would you wish you had put in place right away?
That's funny. I talk about ours a lot. Like, just TCLC is like the first most important one, I think.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that all in place when I first started because I was used to people using paper to write things down and do all the things. And I was on a plane one time, I think it was like probably 2018, and we had full-time staff by then. And I was like, I need to write down the perfect transaction and what were all the things that happened guaranteed, And so I did that and wrote them all down. And I was like, okay, and when do they need to happen? And so I put when they needed to happen, and fully realizing like there's gray area on all of this, right? Like there's stuff that falls through or like it falls outside of the lines of normal and you can't guarantee it, but you can, you know, I talk about it like, have you guys seen the movie, is it Croc, the McDonald's story?
Yeah.
And where he goes up and he buys the burger for the first time and it goes around the assembly line and comes back to him and he's like, what just happened, you know? But they've done that effectively. I would say, I joke, like we're not McDonald's, obviously, but the way they were the first ones to really franchise an actual SOP for something.
Right.
And so we try to franchise. We've always tried to do that. And I think if agents don't have that going in, it's something that they don't realize, like, well, if you're going to become a leader of other agents or you're going to hire a staff member and be like, all right, it's a transaction, now go get them. It's like, no, they should know everything written down so that they know exactly what their job is, and the agent should know what to expect, you know?
Yeah.
If the industry was better at that, we would not have an 82% failure rate.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
If agents joined every brokerage and every brokerage had a legitimate plan that they sit down and execute, we would not be in this spot today.
No, and I think and the biggest reason why is your past clients want to come back to you if you create a predictable experience. Like if they felt they got a good experience the first time and they can predict the next time it's also going to be great, then they're always going to want to work with you over and over and over. They'll always call you back.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I would say to that is I think the most impactful system for us early on was, I don't know if you remember, but I spent, every night creating autoresponders and tweaking my systems
That's what I was going to say.
for lead generation, because I knew that there was only so many hours in the day. And then if I could replicate the manpower of Parker making those calls or those texts and doing lead follow-up, I would have a steady stream of leads coming in at all times. So when I started, I talk again back to go-to guys, they had Angie's List. And I haven't been on Angie's List for a long time, but in the service industry, we would pay $100 a month and they would deliver us 10 lawn care leads. And then I would take those 10 leads and I'd go door knock them. And I would say, hey, I got introduced through Angie's List. I'm a local landscaper, a lawn care company called Go-To Guys, and I'm right here from Apple Valley, and I'd love the opportunity to service your property. And just that script led to multiplication, right?
Yeah.
So when I came into real estate, I started very differently than AJ. To me, it was like, how do I generate leads right away? How do I create that funnel again? And so back in the day, it's funny that we're talking about this today. Your second agent, Steve Girton, now owns Agent Legend. And Agent Legend was the autoresponder that I spent countless hours creating autoresponders. And back in the day, which was 2016, 17, 18, the lead systems like Google Pay-Per-Click, like Zillow, like Realtor, they didn't have all these intricate AI systems and ISAs fielding those calls before they got to the agents. These inquiries went straight to the agent. Right. And it was 24/7. And so you'd get leads at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And, you'd call them back at maybe 10 a.m. and they wouldn't answer. Right. Because for some reason at that time, they were interested, right? And so I created an autoresponder that would send an auto text and then a BombBomb video that introduced me as their local realtor and had a lot of success there. So essentially, to add on to what AJ said, because what he said was great, I multiplied my hours of prospecting by creating those systems. And today, that looks like our AI responders. A lot of AI technologies are taking this over. Or just simply going into Follow Up Boss and creating an action plan for yourself that you can execute, right? That's a similar type of system that if I'm an agent, I'm looking at how do I, like AJ said, get more efficient with my time, but also multiply my hours of prospecting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny because I think the emphasis on systems and processes is one of the reasons that you and I started to build something together so quickly, because I think we both enjoy that a lot. So I think right from the beginning, you were building the lead gen systems and the TCLC stuff. I mean, I remember I had a little Word doc that was a little checklist that I print out and then I'd write in the date that I did all the things.
Do you remember our first Who Not How experience? It was hiring Kristen Williams.
Yes, it was.
And Kristen Williams came in, our first TC. She's with us today. She's great. And her daughter works with us too.
Yes, she does.
She came in and she had, she worked for a Remax team for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Parker Edges, I think it was. And she had her whole elaborate system created. And if you met Kristen, you're like, once you talk to her, you're like, okay, I'm not messing with her. And so we're like, look, she knows, this is our first TC. So we could have like hovered over that and like recreate it. We're like, hey, we're hiring you because you're really good at your job, and you're going to come in here and run it exactly the way you think is best.
Right.
And actually, that's a who not how principle, Dan Martell, that we apply in every position, right?
Yeah.
Or we try to. That's a tough principle. Are you familiar with that book?
No, but I hire people like that too.
Yeah. Who already know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You're not recreating the
And just personalities too. Sometimes it's not even that. I mean, you've heard the story about our field services guy, right?
You told me, but
You've heard the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
I met him at a concert. And he told me his whole story, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's too long, but it's an incredible story. And I said, "All right, you're hired." And he's like, "What am I going to do?" I'm like, "Ryan's going to figure that out." I don't know. Ryan walked in. I'm like, "Here's your new intern, Ryan." And Ryan's like, "What's he going to do?" I'm like, "He says he'll do anything we need him to. I bet you can figure that out." You know, because getting good people, like, that's vital. Whether it is a TC that knows everything about how to do things, or it's just somebody that's going to be a very positive influence on the culture of the company. You know.
Yeah, and the mistake that's made often, I would say, the majority of the time, people hover over that person or that hire. They control the process. They have to do it their way, and there's friction there, and then it causes, inefficiencies in the business, and eventually the relationship doesn't work out. So, AJ said something that I also want to talk about is the speed of decision making is oftentimes so much faster the bigger and more successful you get, because you realize when you see certain things in somebody, if you see the traits and you see that they're qualified and you like what you see, you need to have about 80% of the information to be able to make that next step and make the decision. But so many people waffle on that decision. They lag on it. It takes them months or years. They become disinterested and nothing happens. Mm-hmm. So I love that, because AJ and I have that in common of like, and I think Elon Musk said if he has 60% or 70% of the information, he makes a decision, which Elon is Elon, so that's crazy. But
decisiveness. I like what you said there too. And this is like, we go back to, you were talking about lead follow-up and all those types of things. We have agents where they're like, I'm like, you should read the name of every lead you have in your follow-up boss every single day. Whether you say something to or not, doesn't matter. But when you see an opportunity to follow up with somebody, just follow up with them. And they're like, well, what do I say? I'm like, you asking that question means you're going to do nothing, and then nothing is going to happen. The only way something happens is if you actually do something, like you said, right? If you waffle back and forth on something and you don't do anything, then there's a guaranteed outcome.
Yeah, and
which is
often
nothing.
the thing that holds that back from somebody being more decisive is the fear of failure. Mm-hmm. It's, well, I don't want to send that text because what if I say the wrong thing? Or what if I do the wrong thing? Or what if my assistant doesn't work? And what you're actually doing is you're just convincing yourself not to do something when you should be saying, well, what if that text that I send creates something? Mm-hmm. What if that person I hire buys back 50% of my time? What if, and then if you fail, you simply just fail forward and learn from it the next time. Mm-hmm. But I think that speed is, if I was coaching a young agent right now or a young team leader or agent, it's be decisive and don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah. Along those lines, what was harder than you thought it was going to be about building a team?
That's a great question. You got an answer for that?
Yeah, it's hard. It's literally, it will test everything that you have. Yeah. Everything that you have. And somebody close to me, one of our coaches said, you're a mountain climber. And if you want to climb to the top of the mountain, you better be able to sustain the winds from all the directions. Yeah. Left, right, sideways, back, because when you're at base camp on the bottom, you're not feeling those winds. And she said, only the people that strive to really do something huge are going to feel all of those winds. Yeah. Yeah. And surely, like in the early days of growing the team, it's the pain, it's the being overworked, it's the wanting to quit. And then as you get bigger, it's the haters, the naysayers, the lawsuits. It's just like it progresses. Mm-hmm. I would say that's probably the hardest thing.
I think for me it was learning how to get good at juggling lots of different things at one time. So staying organized, which is my personality. But, I went from I work out for 6 hours a day, and then during the off season, and then I go to the baseball field and I play baseball. Like, it was very cut and dry what I was doing, and I was responsible only for myself. Yeah. Well, I got into real estate. Within 2 years, we're buying rental properties and flipping them. I'm adding real estate agents. I have employees. So I have I used to write things down. Actually, I don't anymore because electronic is so much better for me now. But I'd have and then I was coaching high school baseball. I didn't get in that point. I was the head coach for Chanhassen High School. So I would have 3 categories on my list. And one would be my real estate business, one would be the rental business, and one would be coaching the high school baseball team. But if I put them all on one list, it'd be like 50 things long. So instead I had like 15 or 16 on each one of these lists, and they're like to-dos, because otherwise it just would feel entirely out of control. But even to get to a system of the number of things I was doing and how efficient I was and still working 70, 80 hours a week was pretty wild.
Yeah, and let's hold on that for a second.
Yeah.
I want to come back to it. I want to point out AJ has been a high achiever his whole life, and him and I really connected over his journey with baseball and my journey with golf, and how similar those two are. I can't remember what vehicle you described, but like I lived out of a Nissan Altima with my clothes in the back rack, right? Your clothes hanger across the back. Slept in the car many, many times. You probably know every gas station in America too.
Oh gosh,
I've had a hot dog from all of those.
all of them.
But when you grind like that, and then you get into the business, you wake up and you're like, all right, I've got sun up to sundown to go make something happen.
Oh, I mean, we would every day. I mean, we had 2 days off a season. It's a 144 game season. And I think one of them was like the All-Star break, and then they the other days that were supposed to be off, you're just driving 14 hours from Connecticut to Ohio, sleeping on the floor. And you're right. I mean, like there were days when it's like, okay, 10 a.m., get up and eat your breakfast, go to the field at noon, do some rehab workout type stuff. Then you're doing all your warm-up stuff. The game's not until 7. You got BP. Then you have lunch and dinner at the field. Then you get done and it's like 10:30, you get home at 11. It was like, every single day was, I'm awake for 14 hours. I'm doing baseball for 10. And to do that over and over and over again, to your point, I realized that early on in that organizing of coaching baseball, running my own business, running a team, being a good husband and father later on in that kind of whole journey, that if I wasn't super organized, I was going to drop the ball on those things. So I would wake up at 5 a.m. just so I could clear all my emails. I'd have to every single day of the week. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I would have gotten stressed throughout the day and then lost the organization of the whole thing,
Yeah, and when you're on that bus ride, from Cleveland to Minneapolis or whatever it is, you have to remain totally strong in your belief that this is going to work out and this is the right path. Mm-hmm. I remember going from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, out to Rapid City. It's about 4 hours. Minneapolis to Rapid is about 8. And, I just came off missing a cut, and I'm in my car 8 hours. I've got like $140 in my bank account, eating it, come and goes on the way out through South Dakota. And you're like, is this for me? And you're like, no. Shove that thought down. Show up at the course. You got a new day. You go out there. You have a new round. And then you just go and you do that over and over. So I think it trains you really well to come into real estate, because you might not have success in real estate right away. Right. But you have to get up and do the activities with the belief system that it's going to work out in the end.
And the structure around what you're talking about, right, is I hopped in the car, I drove to the course, I practiced, I played around that. It was like helps you to then take the wild world of real estate and try and put some structure around it, mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, like working 14-hour days was never like a hard thing for me. I was used to getting done with a game. We're driving home for 10 hours and the catcher's spilled red wine on my back in the back of the bus, like, I mean, so many stories like that.
And you look around that bus and you're like, I don't know out of this group who's going to make it, who's not going to make it, who's going to get injured, who's going to take a pitch to the face, which we could probably talk about that too.
That happened to me.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I think it trains you, and we both came into this business we're very fortunate, I would say, mm-hmm. from that perspective, because there's not a lot of people that do have that. One of the questions I like to ask in interviews is, what's the hardest thing you've ever been through in your life? Yeah. And if somebody tells me it was leaving home to go to Iowa State University, you probably know they haven't been through a whole lot of tough stuff. Mm-hmm. And obviously we can dig deeper through that, but a lot of the people that really have success at a high level go through some really hard things, and they prove to themselves over and over that they can get through those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you want to come back to organization and to-do lists? You said you want to come back to that.
I want to, AJ. So I've watched you build this from the beginning. I've watched a lot of teams build their teams from the beginning. I've watched brokerages grow and expand. What do you think the hardest stage of growth is? Let's say you have a team, Okay, so
Yeah.
you've essentially hired one person at minimum.
Yep.
What was for you? What was the hardest stage to get through?
Mentally.
And let's identify this by either sales or by agent count.
Okay. I do agent count. But you mean mentally the hardest part?
I think just getting through that phase of business, all of the things, the emotions, the mental, the finances.
10 to 20
10 to 20 agents.
agents is what I would say. 0 to 10, I was very available, I was able to be there. But when you hit 10, you're still not really ripping a profit. So you have to continue to go out and sell more, and then you're responsible for more people. But once you get to like, I'd say between 20 and 40, 20 and 35 was like a really nice sweet spot for us. And then like we've talked about, once you get over 35 or 40, then it starts getting harder again. Because now you have to reinvest back into what you're doing, you know. But at the beginning, you know, with 3 agents, I mean, it really wasn't that hard for me. I had to stay super organized and diligent about it. But like they all sold like 30 homes a year. I didn't have any like non-productive agents. Like it's like show up and I will teach you how to do this. And then they all did. And then they were all successful. You know, if you could always just run 3 at a time, you'd do really, really well, you know. But in order to really get somewhere and actually have a real business that's actually making a profit without you selling 1 billion homes, you've got to grow it, you know. But so from 10 to 20 was really hard.
And there's a book that identifies a very good structure for business building with profit. It's called Profit First.
Yeah, it's great.
Anybody that might be listening, if you haven't read that, read Profit First, because you basically reverse engineer what the business needs, which is profit, in order to continue to stoke the fire and add value. And I see a lot of people doing it the opposite way. And so, yeah, so you think 10 to 20.
That's what I think, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially because you're not when you're at that point, you're still a little bit of an imposter if you've grown it fast enough, you know.
Yeah.
You're like when I got to 10, I was like, I'm only 3 years into running a real estate team. Like I don't know all the things I need to know about this. And now I'm at 20 and I'm 4 years in and I'm like, oh gosh, this is, you know, overwhelming. But once it tipped over that point, and I tell team leaders that all the time that have 12 agents or 14 agents, and they're like, this is impossible. You know, I can't take care of all these people. And I'm like, that's because they're not bringing in enough sales and revenue to support you being able to then reinvest and keep them going and add value for them. So it felt like when we hit 20, it really started to move the other direction.
Yeah, and that's a really tough stage. But to not give the same answer, I think the hardest part for us was when we hit 50 agents. Also, fun fact, do you know how many teams in America have 10 or more agents?
There's like a real number?
Yeah.
Like 100?
It's less, well, percentage-wise. It's
I was going to say, okay.
less than 1%.
Really?
Get to 10 or more agents. Yeah.
Wow.
And I tell people all the time, it gets substantially easier the bigger you get.
Right.
At 100 agents, it is so much easier than at 10. And there's layers that we can unpack to get there. But I would say for us, it was 50. 50 was Excelsior.
Yeah.
2021. It was, and I'll say we grew for that year from 30 to 50, and I got out of production. That was the ultimate pain that I had to overcome. Was, do I now shift this towards the team, or do I shift it, or do I keep just doing the same thing and keep selling homes? And I think that was such a gift. I got out of day-to-day production, and it was March 2020. We were on a plane coming back from Palm Springs, Kathy and I were, and I was like broken down. I'm like, I can't provide value to all of the people that I've promised I'm going to provide value to. And sure, we had leads and systems and we had great staff, but it's like, I'm over here selling 70 homes a year, and I'm pulling my hair out. I'm drinking too much, way too much to cover the pain of what I went through. You know, it's just a really tough time. But then when we jumped out of production and I went all in on the team, then we scaled it.
Yeah.
So I think 50 was really hard because it was that moment we jumped out of production. But to get there, and to AJ's point, like you have to learn how to recruit, you have to learn how to retain, you have to learn how to run a successful P&L. And if you don't set it up from the beginning the right way, a whole thing will unravel.
It's dangerous at a certain point, right? Which we've seen. I mean, it's dangerous.
Well, and I think you find out about a lot of those limitations between 50 and 100 agents. Because I think at 50, you still know everything that's happening in every single element of the business. You still know all the people really fairly closely. But between 50 and 100, you have to get to a point where you've replaced most of the things that you're doing at least on a day-to-day level. And those growing pains, I think, are tough.
Yeah, and one of the hardest ones for me, and please jump in, is the cultural piece around when you have a team of 5, it's super tight knit.
Yeah.
Like you're hanging out, you're best friends, you're truly like a real strong group. But what happens is personal lives change. One of those 5 will dilute out. One of those 5 will go to a different brokerage at one point. And if you're not bringing people in, if you're not growing, you're going to go backwards. And so committing to growing means you have to commit to culture change. Yeah. Because now that 5-person group, when it becomes 10, the dinner table feels a little different. And when you're at 10 and it goes to 30, well, now you can't rent that same room at the restaurant you guys go to. You have to rent like the ballroom, right? And when you get to 50 or 100 or 200 or 280 now, now you're renting out hotels. Right. And so the culture shifts, and there are layers of things you can do internally, but I think that's really one of the hardest things. Because when somebody was with you early on, they like certain things that you did and the company did early on. And as that shifts, some of those things go away. Accessibility to you goes away a little bit. Lives change. I've had 3 kids since starting real estate. I've had 2 kids after getting out of production. Yeah. Like life just changes, right?
Well, I mean, I can't speak to AJ quite as closely, but I can say confidently that I think you and I are both different people now than we were 10 years ago. Just hands down.
For sure.
So many things about this career and other decisions have just changed who we are.
Yeah.
Totally.
And the cool thing is, like, shout out Nicole Junker, Andy Morgan, John Graham, Kristen Williams, Matt Lundeen, and there's more, who've been with us since that very first year.
Right.
Who've hung in there through those tough times where the dinner table changes sizes and the company logo will change, and you just feel deep gratitude. I think about those people specifically when I want to quit, because they've stuck with us through all of this, and if you ever quit, you quit on them. So it's a strong accountability.
Can I make an observation on your point, Parker? Because I joined the company right in that period of time. There was 65 agents, and so I've been here from 65 through now, which is more than 250. And what you really accelerated in that part was, and you've mentioned it already, it was hiring people, but hiring the right people and giving them agency. Because the time that you now can't spend day to day with agents because there's too much to do, when you've hired great people, that's the core of staff, and it's evidenced by the staff meetings we have. There's 40 people in here just like looking to make the company as good as possible. Those end up as representatives of the company to the staff. So the better people you hire and the more agency you give them to take ownership of the company, really, really filters down to the agent side, because you still have people present. And I've just seen that all the way through, and it's been pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, and that focus has just been around find the right people and hire them, and grow by growing leaders. Liz, like AJ was sitting in Liz's office this morning, and Liz was bossing me around, which was actually funny. She took control. AJ and I are doing the same thing we always do, and we're like going off on like tangent ideas, and Liz is like, no, we're doing it this way. And we're like, okay. But that's something I've learned, because if you continue to interfere with that, then you're just taking that person's leadership away. And of course, like, I come over the top if I need to sometimes, but
No way.
So he thinks.
It's like, no, we're gonna go buy that thing, or we're gonna open that office.
We're gonna go buy 4 scooters that we can use
That's
to
what
drive.
I was gonna say. 4 scooters.
Did you ever feel that
they're
way?
Here.
Though? Yeah. Did you ever feel that way? The pain, I guess I was describing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All the
Of
time.
delegation.
And I mean, that's the word I use, because I have people, whether it's agents on the team or people trying to become a team, like run it, like start a team or be a team leader, all those things. And I tell them my story and where we're at, and then I say to all of them very, very clearly, I say, you have to be okay with the pain, though. Like, don't just think, and this is what you get new people into real estate, and they're used to, I can push a button, and for $9.99, a t-shirt's going to show up in my door in 2 hours. That changes people you know, and they think with a career, it's like, snap your finger, and now I sell 60 homes a year. I'm like, no. 5 a.m. every single day. I would get done with a game at 7:30. I'd show houses with a Chanhassen High School baseball uniform on. I'd get home at 10, and I'd wake up the next day and do it all over again for 5 years. Okay, so this was not like for a week, right?
Yeah.
That's it induces, and again, pain's the word I use because it's really hard. And if you have a family, that introduces more. And not everyone has aspirations to sell 70 homes a year, right? And that's okay. But don't have the aspiration to sell 70 homes and then be like, but it's not going to be hard for me. I'm just going to get there, you know? And don't think I'm going to grow a team to 50 agents without knowing you're going to have relationships get broken and things happen and all this stuff. It's going to break down at times and it's going to wear you out and you're going to lose money and you're going to make money. Like there's going to be a lot of pain along the way. And if you're willing to take it on, you can do it. But most people are not, is what I say. Most people are not.
Well, and finding that balance between recruiting someone and selling them on the career and at the same time setting realistic expectations, that's a huge leadership skill, right? I mean, I know that we've gone through that as well. What other types of leadership skills have you had to develop as individuals to get to the point where you are?
There you go.
Leadership skills. I think EQ. And when I was in college, when I got recruited to go to the U of M, the head coach there's name's John Anderson, and he would tell parents, we like winning baseball games, but I'm not here to make your kid the best baseball player in the world. I'm here to prepare him for the next 50 years of his life. Yeah. And he is the one who ultimately, along with my parents, obviously, and a couple of other like strong men in my life, taught me about EQ. And I think that's what I've gotten best at, is understanding how to be valuable for people in different ways, depending on who it is and how they're actually feeling and what I could say to them to be valuable and make them feel better. And all of that it's really important. I mean, if they don't feel connected to who they're being led by, they'll just continue to leave like a revolving door. So that's been a big spot of growth for me, I would say, in the last few years.
My answer's changed over time. I think now, looking back, it's the fact that you need to lead yourself before you can lead other people. Because if you have blind spots in yourself, that's gonna show up in business. So you have to transform yourself. I mean, personal development will actually grow in correlation to your business growth. And so if you're always working on yourself first, then you're going to be able to show up for others and lead them better.
Yeah, tremendous.
And that means truly, David texted me yesterday after our announcement. That's doing the things that you tell other people to do,
right?
And actually doing them more consistently than anybody else that you compete with. It's not, hey, let's grow a company and then disappear. It's not like, no, like in fact, my discipline and my consistency has gotten stronger and way more difficult as we've gotten bigger.
For sure. And that ability to lead by example becomes even more and more important the larger you get, because you're having maybe fewer individual interactions, but everybody's still watching you and they're still seeing that you're staying true to all the things that you are telling them to do.
Yeah, and maybe that answer has changed through time because where AJ's gotten to and where I've gotten to, you go through so much to get there. You realize like we're all just human beings. We're all just trying our best, and nobody has it all figured out.
Right.
What's funny is that most of the time the egos in this business come at the lower stages of the business than they do at the top. And I think it's because the people at the top have just been through so many more things, and they come at you so much faster. And so if you're not taking care of yourself first, in many different ways, you're not going to be able to show up and take care of everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's true. All right, we have reached the end of our time together, but clearly we will do this again because this was a ton of fun. Last question. What makes you most excited about the future of your organization now?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, with the announcement yesterday, I think the stories like the TK one I told at the beginning were rooted in me really being there with him. And that's what I said to our team yesterday. I said, this is going to open up the opportunity for me to really be there with you and to create more of those stories without all of the other noise that prevented me from doing that. And so I would say that's my number one thing I'm excited for.
Yeah.
And that's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah.
It's got to be a really good feeling. We wouldn't have done that with a lot of people. Like, we would not have made that strategic decision if it wasn't for AJ and the Petterson family and just the people that they are. So I think that the thing that I'm most looking forward to is that we get to welcome legitimate leaders, legitimately great people at the core into our organization. And then we have more great people to surround our company with and grow together with.
Yeah.
And when I look at us, we're still small fish in the broker game, but I think we have the best people.
Right.
We have the right people to take this anywhere we want to go.
I love it. Thank you, AJ, for joining us today.
Thank you.
That is it for today's episode of No Contingencies. If you got value from this conversation, take a second to share it with another agent or team leader who's serious about growing. If you're looking for a brokerage that's forward-thinking, accountability-driven, and built for the next chapter, we should talk. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.